I hope you can all see my screen. Right. So if you remember last week, I believe I did post the code on Slack. Yeah, so if you go on the Slack channel, yes, there's this code here, which we both did, where we did an input. You take two numbers and then you can add them together, okay? But today we're actually going to go one step further. So we're going to add addition, subtraction, division, and we make sure that our calculator looks pretty. Okay. All right. Enough of me talking. So this is what we want to achieve. So just imagine this. This is what we're hoping it's going to look like in the end. So there we go. Blank slate. Nothing. Zero. I've just created a folder here with index file, calculated JavaScript file, and a style.css for the styles. Sorry, just 1 second. Apologies for that. To anyone who might ask, this code will be available on Slack. So if you struggle to keep up with the typing, I understand. This code will be available on Slack. So if you just want to watch and follow along this lesson, and then copy the code so we can do it together tomorrow and Sunday, I can't remember. Then yeah, I'm more than happy to do that with you. So I'll just start. So I'll just create a div tag, all right, and I'll just call it a calculator here. Uh, now, what's the purpose of the div tag? The div tag is essentially to hold everything. Okay, so everything doesn't just disperse all over the screen. Right, and as I promised to you guys last time, we also introduced another element called input. Okay, input text, which I'll give a class name of I'll just say output. Sorry. I'll go inputs. Okay. And then if we save that, we have this immediately. All right. Now, by default, because you guys can't see the code, I tend to make everything supersized. So it will probably look like this on your screen by default, like very small. Okay. But I've just made my screen a bit bigger so you guys can see what's happening. Okay. Now the next part's very simple. We're gonna add the buttons. Okay. So the numbers 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Those are going to be buttons. That's okay, Salim. I would say if you're not feeling well as well, I'm happy for you to not continue the lesson and rest. Like if you feel very sick during the lesson, I'm happy for you to like stop and then get some rest as well. So yeah, don't feel bad. I just hope you'll get well soon. Thanks for that. Yes. So uh yeah. So the 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 0, the division, multiplication, minus, plus, equals, and the full stop. Those are essentially buttons, okay? As we've been learning. Right. How do we do that? So I'll create another div tag, um, and then I'll call it buttons. Okay. All right. So roughly, all right, that's okay. Roughly, how many buttons do we need? So let's see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. Can you hear me, Kuba? Can you not hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you talk a little bit louder?
I'll try. My voice is still dead. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Sorry, my throat's not it's not 100% yet. So yeah, you'll hear my voice is a bit mm, yeah. Okay. So what were we doing?
What?
Uh right. Okay.
People.
So we wanted to create 16 buttons, okay? And I'll just quickly do button. Okay. So this is another handy trick in Visual Studio Code, which I haven't
Check.
shown you,
Trying
but
to get the exact same thing as my
okay.
teacher. So you have to shush so that I can focus.
Kupa, you forgot to mute your mic. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So there's a trick in Visual Studio Code which I haven't taught you guys yet, but I'll teach you guys now. So instead of us typing button button until we get 16, right? Because that's gonna take forever. Okay, we don't want that. What we do is we then go button, okay, and we press our shift key and the number 8 for the star to get the asterisk, and then we go 16. And I'll explain what this is. This is basically telling Visual Studio Code that we want to create 16 buttons. So we define the button and then we go times the number 16 to create 16 buttons. So if I hit enter, right, you're going to see we're going to have all these buttons right here. See? We're going to create all these other buttons right there. Okay. And even if I save this, you see, we're going to have 16 buttons on our screen, right? Sorry. Yeah. So this is essentially the trick that I hope you guys will get familiar with. So if you want to create any element more than once, like 10 of them, yeah, just remember that element times the number of the elements that you want. Okay. So I've got 16 buttons here. Cool. So where do I start? So I'll just start giving numbers, okay? Remember, I think we're going in reverse. Yeah? If I'm not mistaken. Just bear with me. I'll confirm. Yeah. So let's go 7, 8, 9. Okay. For the top row. All right. So 7, 8, 9. Excuse me. And then the first operation we need is division. Okay. So we just put the slash. Normally to divide is the slash. Okay. Uh, like that. Sorry, I don't know what's happening there. Like that. And then we do the next set of numbers. So imagine this is going per row, right? So you got the top row, then you're going to have the second row, then the third row, then the fourth row. Okay. And I'll show you how to do it CSS. All right. Don't worry. Sorry if I'm losing my voice. Okay. So we did 7, 8, 9. Now we want to do 4, 5, 6. Okay. So we do 4, 4, and then we go 5, and then we go 6. Okay. And then let's put plus in here. All right. So 4, 5, 6, and then we got the plus. Okay. And then let's go in the last row. So let's go 1, 2, and then let's go 3. Okay. And I think we've got let's go multiplication, which is usually x. Okay. Right. So that leaves us with 4. With 4 buttons. Okay. So this would be our 0. Okay. And then let's also do a dot. All right. And let's do our equals. And then let's do our, what did we do? Division, addition. Oh, we forgot subtraction. Okay, cool. All right. So this is how it should look. If you've been following, and it looks messy right now, but I'll show you a nice way to put it together. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to quickly come to my style.css here. Okay. And if you don't feel comfortable copying this, happy for you to wait for after the lesson. I'll post the code to the Slack channel. All right. But enough of me talking. So we've got the buttons again. All right. So I'll go dot buttons because this is how we call a class in CSS. We go dots. Okay. So we go, I'll show you. So see here, see how it says class buttons. Okay. Like that. So in CSS, we go dot and then buttons. All right. And then I don't know if you guys know anything like a grid. Okay. So something like a grid. Like this, something like that, where you've got squares on a graph kind of thing, where you got uh rows as in going from left to right, and you've got columns going from top to bottom. Okay, so left to right, and then columns from top to bottom. Okay, so it's the same thing in CSS. We're going to do a grid, but we want to do a grid of sorry, I don't see a hand. Cooper, are you still raising your hand?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, what was your question?
So I wanted to ask, how did you make? I think I did not see you or hear you explain because just a few minutes ago there was an airplane passing by.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when
But
did you
how did you make? How did you make all the sentences button appear?
all these to appear? You mean these?
Yes.
Oh, so sorry. So for the sorry, you can go.
All the words button.
Oh, this one. I just typed. I just went BUTTON and then I pressed the tab key. Yeah. So I went BUTTON and then pressed the tab key.
I wasted all my time.
Oh, what did you do?
I was copying it down like a fool.
No. So if you want to get all 16, okay, I'll quickly
60.
yeah, there's 16 of them if you count. So I'll make a copy of this, right? So if you want to do all 16, don't write them one by one. Do this. Go BUTTON, right? And then don't press anything. And then from your keyboard, press the Shift and number 8 key. All right, to get the star. Okay. and then you go 16. Okay. Which is saying, I want you to generate 16 buttons on my Visual
Mm.
Studio Code.
So
So
shift and the number 8.
8, yes.
And then 16.
Yeah, and then you press tab after
Yeah.
that. And then press tab after that and see what happens.
It's not working.
Do you want to share your screen? I'll see if I can help you with that. Okay, right. So, okay. So what you have here, all right. Okay, so if you press the tab key, nothing happens, is all you're saying. There you go. So they're going off screen because there's like heaps of them. So you'd have to like sort them into a neat pile. Like you'd go between there, yeah, and then you press enter, so it goes on the next line, and then yeah, you do that. Yeah, like that. Yeah, yeah, nice. Mhm. Yeah. There you go. So now you've successfully created 16. So if you save your file, you should see like these weird shapes on your screen. Do they appear?
So
No.
if I save my file,
Mm.
what should happen?
You should have like funny squares on your screen. Like they should look like this. I'll quickly show you. Wait. They should look like this.
Nothing like that really happened, but this appeared.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you can experiment, but then I'll let you have this code afterwards, so you can have this as your template, because we're gonna have the same code anyway. So you can then download it off Slack and then work off that. Okay.
Okay.
I'm
So this
happy
is
for
what
you to.
popped up.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you share. Do you want to share? And then I'll have a look. Um,
I
yeah,
already
that.
shared.
Yeah, that. You see the funny shapes I was talking about? Those blobs, those little gray thingies. Yeah. So to actually get them to be a square, so in the first button, right, on line 12, type the number 7. So type the number 7 and in between the tags.
It's yours.
Oh, you
So
there?
if I
Yeah. So you see the first button on line 12. Yeah. Yeah, that one. So in between the tags, yep. Type the number 7. And then if you save, Yeah.
Can we experiment with different numbers?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm happy for you to experiment, and then after the lesson, you can get the files I'm working on, because it'll be easier for you to follow from that.
Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. So I'm happy for you to play in the background, make sense of it, and then after the lesson, I'll encourage everyone to get the code that I'm working on. Okay. All right. So sorry, I was trying to explain the concept of grids. So having, I'm hoping most of you have seen a graph or a maths book. I'm hoping. So think of a grid as like those squares on a paper, right? So we've got a calculator here, and we want to have a grid of four buttons going from left to right, okay, at each row. All right, it won't make sense. I'll just do it. Okay, so let's go display. Okay, let's go grid. Display grid. Now, by default, it's going to put every button in its own row. Okay, it's going to go, oh, okay, there's 16 rows now because each button has its own row. But this is not what a calculator looks like. Okay. The next attribute would be grids, template columns. Okay. And it's going to take a function. I'm hoping you guys still remember what a function is, but CSS has also its own functions. Okay. So grid template columns is essentially us telling the HTML we want to have this many buttons per row. Okay. Excuse me 1 second. We want to have this many buttons per row. Okay. How do we do that? So there's a function called repeat. Repeat. Okay. And it takes 2 arguments. So we've got 16 buttons, and we want to have 4 columns. So maths tells us that we should go 4 times 4. Oh, you're right, Cooper. If you're not feeling too well, you can take a break. It's okay. So we've got 16 buttons. We want to display a grid of 4 by 4. Okay, so four squares or 4 buttons across, and then 4 rows down. So it's a grid. So the grid will be 4 times 4. So we should get 16 squares essentially. So we go 4, right? Comma 1 FR, and then let's save that. Right. This is what we get essentially. Okay. You may be asking me what happened. I'm happy to explain. So remember how I was saying it's a grid, okay? So we wanted to display 4 buttons, okay, per column. So 7410 is what's called a column, okay? 852 dot is a column. 123x is what's called a row, okay? So rows are going horizontally left to right, okay? Columns are going from top to bottom. So 963 equals is a column. It's going from top to bottom or bottom to top, whichever way you're looking at. Okay. And then 789 divide is called a row. Okay. Because it's going horizontally. All right. I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't have to explain too much. You can also do like, let's say 3 there, you see, and then it will look like this. Okay, it'll look like a grid of 3 times how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 by 6. Okay, obviously you're gonna have this as the outlier, which is not good. But we want it to look like that. Okay, So it's grid template columns, repeat function, and then we go 4 because it's 4x4. The 1FR just means make everything the same size. Okay, that's all that means. Okay. Now, halfway there. Okay. So remember, we only applied this to the buttons here, the buttons container, the div tag. Now we want to style the actual buttons. Okay. So for the buttons that do our operations, let's give them classes. Let's go divide. Okay, so the one that divides, let's give it a class divide. And for the one that's got plus, we go class equals add. Okay. The one that multiplies, we'll go class multiply. And the one that subtracts, we just go class equals subtract. Subtract. Can't spell. And then we obviously want to go class for this one equals. Okay. Right. Everything else will keep the same. Okay. So we've got class for the divide, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay. You'll see why we did that. Okay. So for the button, we want to give them 2 colors. So if you remember the example we had, the numbers are always going to have a gray color. The buttons that do the mathematical operations, they're going to be, I don't know, that's a dark orange to me. Okay. Right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to give it a cursor, because if we move our mouse here, right, whenever we move our mouse here, it doesn't look appealing. Okay. So we use a property called cursor. Okay, cursor, right? And we give it a value of pointer. Okay, and let's save this. All right. So now you see how the mouse cursor changed. It changed from this pointy black thing to this hand. You see, whenever we move over the button, okay, you got this nice little pointy hand. That's handy. I like it. Okay. Now let's quickly do this. Let's remove the borders. Okay. So you see how it's got these gray borders here? I'm not a big fan of that. Okay. So we go border 0. Now you guys may be asking me, how do I remember all of this? If you right click on your Google Chrome and go inspect, right? I don't have much room here. Sorry, I'll try and make do with what I have. Okay. If you go into your dev tools and just select anything, you can experiment. Okay. This is what we were trying to learn in the first, I'd say, 3 weeks of this course. Okay. So if you go into element.style, you can do things here that, see how it reacts and understand what's going on, things like that. Yeah, stuff like that, like you can do things like this here until you make sense of it and stuff like that. This looks like my calculator because everything is white. Yes, we're gonna give it more color, Salim. Yeah, we're gonna make it very colorful in the long run. But like I was explaining to you guys, if you don't understand how I'm coming up with all this, I tend to experiment in here first. I experiment in here first, and then once I'm happy, I then apply it in my code. Okay. So Obviously, I'm not going to do all of that. So I'm going to reset the page. Okay, so it looks like this. So we want to remove the border. Okay, so we go border. Okay, and then we go 0. We get rid of the border. Okay, because it looks terrible. Or if we want, we can go 1 pixel solid ourselves and then go gray like that. But it's still too, don't really like it. Okay, so we'll just keep it at 0 for now. Okay. And then let's go font size. We want to make the numbers just a tiny bit smaller. So let's go 12 pixels for now. Okay. Now you may be wondering, what does this look like, the actual size? This is what it looks like currently. It's very tiny. The only difference is I've made it bigger now so you guys can see my screen. Okay. Right. So what we want to do next is we want to give it a background. So you see this color here, right? I have a color picker from my extensions, which lets me pick the colors. Okay. So I can easily click this extension, this little pen, and then it lets me select the colors here. All right. So I'll just click the gray. Okay. And then I'll go background, and then I'll paste the color in. Okay, so this is the color of the buttons. Okay, now obviously we want the ones that do the math operations to be orange, and I'll show you guys how we can fix that. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's copy this back into Visual Studio Code so we don't lose our code. All right, now remember what I said. If we came back here and said background orange, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's everyone's going to be orange, but we don't want that. We only want the ones that are the mathematical, the division, addition, multiplication, subtraction to be orange. How do we do that? Simple. So you see all these buttons here that have classes like class divide, class add, class multiply, equal, subtract, etc., etc. Okay. All we need to do is we just call their classes. We go dot divide, okay, comma, dot add, comma, right, dot multiply, if I can spell, sorry, comma, dot equals, comma, dot subtract, okay, and then we open our curly braces, and then we go background orange, and there we go. See, there we go. Perfect. All right, so I'm noticing here that we have this equals. So maybe equals, we don't want it to be orange. So our calculator looks a bit uniform like that. Okay, so sorry, just remove equals from the list here, and it should be okay. There's another way to do it, where you can use the not function here, but that's a bit more advanced. I'm not going to show you guys. I want you guys to learn the simple basics first. Okay. All right. So our calculator is coming up together perfectly. All right. Now I'm going to squeeze out of this quickly and see the size of this. Okay. This is way too big. Okay. The size of this thing is way, way too big. All right. For my liking, because a calculator should fit in your hand. Well, this is way too big to fit in your hand. So how should we fix this? Easy. Remember the div tag we created at the start? This one? The div calculator one? Okay. So this is the parent element. So if we give this a definitive size, everything is going to be restricted to the size of the parent element. What do I mean? Okay. So let's take the calculator selector here. All right. And in here, let's just give it a border, 1 pixel solid red. Right. So this is how much space it's taking up. And I'm pretty sure if I went full screen, it's gonna go increasingly bigger. And this is not how a calculator should look by all means. Okay. So how do we remedy that problem? Easy. Let's go width is literally the size of it from left to right, okay, of your screen. Let's give it 100% so it fills up the whole screen. And then let's go maximum width. Now we're restricting how much space it takes up. And let's say 300 pixels. See? So now it's a bit squished. So if I expand it, it does look a bit nicer, but we can probably go a bit smaller. Okay, so we go 200 pixels. I could do with that. If you want, we can probably go 150. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so 150 is okay, and then let's bring it back up to speed like that. Cool. Right now, all I have to do is then I'll copy this. I'll copy that. And then I'll put it into our CSS file. Okay, perfect. There you go. Step one, nearly there. And then we want to style the inputs, this part here, because it should look more or less like this without any borders. Okay. So what do we do first? It's simple. We just literally click the plus there to go dot input, and we just go border 0. Simple as that. Let's give it a display block, and then a width of 100%. If you want, you can give it a background of the black color. If you want. For now, I choose to just keep it white for that purpose. And then I'd go max width, inherit. Okay, I want to see if that worked, because it's still got like this little edge here that's there. Okay, maybe I'll go outline, none. Right. Okay. Let's go white. Okay. So this is where you can type stuff, right? So let's make the text font size to be 12 pixels as well. So we'll put Salam is good at typing. All right. But then let's give it a padding as well. Now I'll explain all of this. Don't worry. If it's feel like alien technology, I'll explain all of this. Okay. So let's give it 10 pixels. All right. Cool. Right. So what did I do then? Inline block, maybe. Yikes. Maybe we don't want the padding because it doesn't look good. Yep, there we go. All right. So I'll explain now what we did. So the inputs. So the input, right? The input is where we want to display our numbers. So the input is when you would type 1, then you'd click plus, then you'd type 10, and then you'd expect to get 11 when you click equals, right? All right. So what we did is we removed the border, okay? Because remember, it had this awful looking border, okay? So we went border 0 to turn it off, to remove it. The outline, we definitely don't need that as well. Okay. The width, we're basically saying the width of the input is equal to the width of the calculator element. Okay. And then the background, we've set it to white. Like I said, you can make it black if you want, but make sure that you set the color to white. Okay. So if you have the background as black, set the color to white. So when you type your stuff in here, you can see the numbers. Like that's if you want to follow this down to a T. Okay. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. Why not? Because I did promise that we have to make a replica of that. Okay. And then max width. Maybe we're gonna put it 150. I don't know. Maybe 148 or 44. Excuse me. And then the font size, I've shrunk it down to 12 pixels, so it's at least accommodative of what's in here. Right, you can if you go higher, the text gets bigger, as you see. Right, if you get smaller, it is what it is. Right, so yeah, 12 pixels is usually the sweet spot in my opinion. So I'd say stick with 12 pixels. Okay, all right. And then all I have to do is I just have to copy this, copy that, and then I'll paste it in here, and there we go, voila. All right. Now it's looking a bit plain. All right. Let me see if I can fix the height of this thing. So let's give it a height of 80 pixels and see. That's too big. So let's go 40. Let's go 20. Yeah. 30. 30 pixels. All right, so let's give it a height of 30 pixels. So it's just good enough, okay? All right, and if I reset this, this is how your calculator should look. Maybe I'll get rid of the max width because it's not doing me any favors right now. Okay, so this is how your calculator would look on your screen if you had it open now. This is what it would look like. Now, the next step is we want to make these buttons obviously a bit bigger. Okay. How do we do that? So, right now, if we hover over here, our buttons are 37 pixels wide and 16 pixels tall. That's pretty small, in my opinion. Very, very small. So let's go with and make it 40 pixels. Okay. And let's go height 40 pixels. So it looks like that. Okay. So it's like a perfect square. So if we go 1 pixel solid red, okay, they have to look like perfect squares. Okay. So 40 pixels by 40 pixels. Okay. This is what we wanted to go with. You can make it bigger if you want, by changing the width here from 40 to, let's say, 60, and then 60 pixels again. Yeah, you know. And then obviously you increase the font size from 12 pixels to, let's say, 20. Yeah, maybe we should go with this. I like this. I like the look of that. Okay. But then it leaves the input with the very, very tiny tiny size. So we'll fix that as well. Apologies. So today is more or less we're building the look of our calculator. Then tomorrow is when we will start actually putting in the codes, the coding which makes it run, which makes it function. Okay, I don't know why this is let's go flex maybe. No, let's go block. Right. So calculator. Ah, maybe let me not. Wait. Let's do some quick maths. So if our button, how wide is our button? Okay, each button 60 pixels. Okay, so what's 60 times 4? That's 240 pixels. Yes. Okay, so currently it won't look good because our calculator is max width 150. But you see how the buttons are going off the side of it? We then need to fix it with 240 pixels. So it looks like that. Okay. So we'll just change this one to 240. Okay. All right. Then we'll fix the height of this. I think we made it 30 pixels, but let's make it 60. Why not? Let's keep it formal. Okay. So input height 60 pixels. Cool. Yeah. Wait. One more thing. We need to apply gaps between these buttons, okay? Because realistically, calculators have gaps. Sorry, the buttons have gaps in them. Where you can actually touch and click and everything. Okay. So we want to do this. Okay. That's all right, Salem. Thank you for letting us know. So on the buttons div tag, right, where we had the grid template columns, okay, there's another property called gap, just GAP, like that, okay. Let's start with 1 pixel. Okay, so 1 pixel looks promising. 2 pixels looks to be all right. Don't know what 1.5 looks like. Yeah, I can take 1.5. 1.5 pixels. So you just have this gap, this nice little gap between each of the buttons, okay? So we'll take that and we'll paste it in here. Cool. All right, so the last thing I'll do is I just want to center the calculator. So if we have a full screen, I don't like the calculator being here. I want it in the middle of the screen at all times. How do we do that? Very easy, actually. So there's a property in CSS called margin. Okay, so margin is basically your screen from left to right, from the top to the bottom. Okay, we go 0 and then auto. Okay, so 0 meaning no margin, and then auto for automatically center it. Okay, so we just copy that back into here, and there we go. Simple. So now we have our very own little calculator here. I feel like the text is a bit too tiny, so let's make that a bit bigger, shall we? So let's make that 20. Let's make it 30 pixels. Why not? Okay. 30 pixels. And that's the dot input, isn't it? 30 pixels. All right. So this is it for today. Today we basically made our interface for the calculator. Tomorrow is when we're going to actually start giving these functions. So if you press the division, it will divide the two numbers that you give it. So if you go 30, you can click this and then it will you say 30 divided by 20 and then you go equals and then it gives you the results. Okay, so we're going to do that. But lastly, sorry, we need to center the text to the right. Okay, so to do that, we just go text align and then we go right like this. Easy. All right, so I'll go there and then I'll minimize this and I'll go text align and we go right. Cool. So this is it for today. I'll post this code on Slack, and this is the code we're going to use tomorrow. I'm not going to change anything. So if you know that you're going to be in tomorrow, I'll urge you to download this code ASAP off Slack after this, because these are the files that we're going to work with from tomorrow until we finish the calculator, because it's a simple project, so we should be good enough to finish it by Saturday. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, as of today, this is the end of the lesson. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being here with us. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Philip.